Here I am again, branching out into other topics. This one, of course, wrestling. Now, again, with everything I talk about, you may or may not really give a shit about professional wrestling. You may think it's dumb. You may call it soap opera for men, in which, I mean, yeah, it pretty much is that. We all have our things, but wrestling is very much an entity for a reason. Now, say what you will over the last several years, but of course, I'm going to go into some of my backstory just a little bit for some context as far as my history with professional wrestling. Now, I've never really watched professional wrestling for many, many, many years. I could have gotten into it perhaps a long time ago, but it just never really came into my life at these moments in time. I did go to a WWF show. I remember way back when, years ago, with my parents and grandfather. I know he was a fan of a lot of this, a lot of the like Attitude Era, like old school stuff, and so I remember having gone to a show with them a long, long time ago, and this was back in like the '90s and stuff. So I could barely remember, a lot of it, but I do remember having that one experience in my lifetime prior to when I actually delved in and became a fan. I know I even had like a wrestling game. I forget which one. It was like on PS1 prior to it, but really it all started with 2012 WrestleMania 28. This was The Rock versus John Cena. I remember seeing the advertisement for. I'm like, huh. I'm kind of curious to see that. I've never really watched, but I'm curious to see it. So I ordered the pay-per-view. I watched it, and I had a hell of a time. I mean, this is when Undertaker went 20-0 against Triple H in a Hell in a Cell, and you had CM Punk going in against Chris Jericho for the championship, and then of course you had like Rock Cena, Rock going over, which I was hoping he would. And then after that, I watched the Raw after that, and then that's where it created the domino effect for my fandom. Now, of course, this was the PG era where a lot of things were definitely not at their peak as far as at least with WWE is concerned. But as time went on, as I just kept watching year after year after year, like my fandom and my knowledge of it, of course, expanded and evolved. And so I understood a lot of the context for certain things as it went on. And like I said, it may not have been the best era, that's for sure. But I felt like it was the perfect moment in time for me to become a fan and for me to open my eyes to this other world of fandom. And so this is where we are now, where you have the likes of an AEW, the ones out there trying to compete with a WWE, really trying to bring in the more old school wrestling fans, like the Attitude Era type of stuff, where they're not so vanilla, they're not trying to be held back so much, because WWE, of course, now is very corporate. I mean, they're just doing a lot of shady shit, also with talent, and it's just not really a fun place to watch right now. But this is where we are. Like I said, I'm more so focused on AEW. I honestly just don't even have the time to watch all that stuff if I wanted to. So right now, yeah, I'm just an AEW guy. I just watch that weekly, and I'm having fun for what it is. It's not perfect in a lot of ways, but then again, in wrestling, I don't think it ever will be, especially these days. You can never reach the peak of the Hulkamanias or the Attitude Eras with Stone Cold Steve Austin. That was just... Those are just moments in time that you can just never recapture in this modern era, especially with social media and all that stuff, and kayfabe, all that other shit you might want to go into. It's just a different time, so no matter how perfect a product is, it can never truly be that again. Right now, with what AEW has going for itself, I feel like they really do have a good, steady platform, and they're really building themselves up where the likes of a Chris Jericho really helped propel them and to really kind of help make it into what it is now, which as of last night on AEW Rampage, CM Punk had in fact returned to professional wrestling after having been gone for 7 years. Like I said, that was 2012. That was just the year after like 2011 with the whole Punk thing and the pipe bomb and stuff, so I didn't see a lot of that, but I really got to, over those next couple of years, to get an insight into the CM Punk world and what he is capable of bringing, despite being, held back in many ways by WWE and Vince McMahon. But I got to experience that. I slowly became more of a fan, and I actually went to Hell in a Cell that year in October. That was my first ever wrestling show I went to. He was actually the main event, and you can say what you will about the show itself. It was an alright show, but just being there and seeing CM Punk come out and all that stuff, it was like that was just a spark of bigger things to come as far as my interest. So like I said, I'm now like, I know a lot of older guys, the Ric Flairs, the Steve Austins, the Ultimate Warriors. Like, I know the history now of a lot of this stuff, and so it's very fascinating. Again, you can say what you will about the overall product in many ways, but like anything else, like with film, like with television, especially now where it's on such a decline, even actual sports like the NBA, passion is just not really there. But here with AEW, again, you can say what you will, it may not be the perfect product in a lot of ways, but they're actually doing stuff for the talent and for fans, and this is just a moment in time where you have to look at it as just a fan and realize that this is for not just for Punk, not just for the company, but this is for fans, this is for us. And if you saw that moment last night, if you happen to be a fan, if you witnessed this and you just felt the energy, I haven't seen anything like this in quite some time. Like I said, even in the actual like NBA or whatever, I mean, you just don't, you're not having these, unless you're like a fan of that particular team, of a particular team, like the Bucks or even the Tampa Bay with Tom Brady and all of that. This was Chicago, of course. It was his home turf. It was, so it was very much built in to be even that much bigger. But at the same time, it expands greater than that. We don't have to be from Chicago. You don't have to be all this and that. It didn't matter because this was just a fan's moment. And I've not seen a moment like this in a long, long time. And that's what you have to mostly take away from as a moment of appreciation. Especially for me, having gotten in when I did, and then seeing what Punk is all about over this course of time, and getting to this moment here, it was truly something special. And I'm really looking forward to, especially with the talent that AEW has. They really do have some good stuff going for them as far as younger people and the type of promos. It can range from the littlest moment to a promo to an actual match, where it's just that interaction, just seeing the personalities clash with one another, that's truly going to lead to some really fun moments. And that's what this is. It's just fun. It's just enjoying the ride. And I feel like AEW right now is actually giving fans, like I said, with no matter what fandom you come from, it's just giving fans something to look forward to. And again, you see this moment last night. We wish we had this with everything right now, because we just don't. And just taking a step back, even from like a wrestling fan's perspective, and just looking at that, even if you hate CM Punk, I know he had his reign, if you want to call it in MMA. He had a couple of matches he got beat the hell out of, and you can say what you will about that, but I gotta give him the credit though for at least having tried to put himself out. Because let's face it, okay, most average person is not going to go out there and deliberately get themselves punched in the face or kicked or submitted in any type of fashion. He at least went out there and he tried something, and hell, he failed. But at the same time, like I said, I got to give him credit where it's due. He did that, it is what it is. But right now here, as just a pure wrestler, as a pure personality, as a pure talent, I have to respect him, especially the interview after the fact and everything, just hearing them talk and just hearing them and just watching them in that moment in particular. He was alive again in that. He is truly back in there to do his thing and to have fun. He's not half-assing it. He's not being cynical about it. He is truly being appreciative of this moment, and I really do look forward to what they're doing. So With that said, I'll just go ahead and end it there. So hopefully you see exactly where I'm coming from, where it's just a fan's moment, and it's fun as hell. Hearing Cult of Personality fucking blasting through an arena with thousands of people in Chicago. Again, just stepping back and looking at it, hell of a moment, and you just gotta enjoy it for what it is. So we'll see what happens going forward. But that will do it for this video. And hey, if you watched, then I appreciate it. You can like, comment, subscribe, do whatever the hell you want to. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just letting you know how it is. Whether you're a fan or not, it's all good. I will see you next time. I am Iron Raiden, and let's just kick some ass. See you next time.